Okay, this is the second part of the monohybrid cross lesson, and we're going to look at some practice problems here. So just for review, when we're looking at inheritance problems, we're talking about the parents' gametes. So we're talking about what gametes can be possible alleles can be in the gametes from mom, and what alleles can be in the gametes from dad. And law of segregation and independent assortment tells us this should be completely random. Now we're going to see later there's exceptions to that rule, but for now we're going to assume everything is completely random. So we call the first generation, the first cross, the parental. You can think of it as parental, but this is going to be the P1. And then we have the offspring. And we said that was the word in Latin for offspring is filial. So this becomes the F1. Sometimes in the instance of like plants or bugs or things that aren't susceptible to having problems with crossbreeding, we can take these and cross these. And then, so if I do an F1 by an F1 cross, then we call this the F2 generation. F2 generation. So let's look at this practice problem. Ice cream snowmen can have pretzel arms or licorice arms. Pretzel arms, capital P, are dominant while licorice arms, P, are recessive. A homozygous dominant male is crossed with a homozygous recessive female. What is the ratio of genotypes and phenotypes for the offspring of the P1 cross? So what we have to do first, so our first step is you need to determine, so number one, the genotypes of the species being crossed. So in this case, it says that we have a homozygous dominant male. And we said that the dominant is pretzel. So we have the male. It's going to be capital P, capital P. And it says a homozygous recessive female. So the female is going to be lowercase p, lowercase p. And this is the cross we're going to do. Now, I'm going to do this with a Punnett square, but maybe you can see in your brain that we really don't need a Punnett square for this. So let's see what this is going to look like. This is a single trait cross. So if you're only doing one trait, you'll only ever need a 2x2. So there's my 2x2 box. And at the top, we have the gametes of one and the gametes of another. And we're just going to put dad here and mom here. And then what we do is we pull this P down and this P over. And when we do this cross, we're going to see that all of our boxes are going to be the same. So that means that I'm going to have 100%, my F1 will be 100% heterozygous. So my genotype, remember the genotype or the alleles is PP. My phenotype is pretzel arms. So genotype are the alleles and phenotype is the way the organism looks. Okay, what if I do this same cross, but I'm crossing a heterozygous male and female with pretzel arms? So I'm still doing one trait. I'm going to need a 2x2 box. And both mom and dad are going to be heterozygous. That means that dad is going to be capital lowercase and mom is going to be capital lowercase. Remember, heterozygous means different. We have different alleles. Homozygous means we have the same alleles. And it can be dominant or it can be recessive. So I put one allele at the top of each box for the male and one for the female, or the female on the male. And then I'm going to draw in. So this comes in here and this comes down here. As a matter of course, you want to always write the dominant allele first. So dominant allele gets written first. Dominant allele gets written first. So here I have capital P, capital P. When I bring this down, I have a lowercase and a capital, capital, lowercase. Here I have a capital, lowercase, and here I have lowercase, lowercase. So what I want to do now is I want to make a list of my genotypes and phenotypes. So let's do the genotypes first. So for my genotypes, I have homozygous dominant, I have heterozygous, and I have homozygous recessive. Now, what about ratios? Well, I have 4 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4. So here I have 1 out of 4. Here I have 2 out of 4 because I have a heterozygous here and I have a heterozygous here, and here I have a 1 out of 4. Well, hopefully you know your algebra enough to know that 1/4 equals 25%. 2/4 gives you 50%, and 1/4 gives you 25%. Okay, what about our phenotypes? Well, my 2 possible phenotypes are pretzel arms or licorice arms. So I could have pretzel, or I could have licorice. One of the things you might want to do is do hashtags. In these boxes, it's pretty apparent, but when we get into dihybrid crosses, it's kind of handy to be able to do hash marks to tally up things. Everybody that has a capital P is going to have pretzel arms. So 3 of these boxes have pretzel arms. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 of those have pretzel arms, and 1 has licorice. So this is going to be 3/4 and 1/4. Well, when we turn 3/4 into a percentage, and if you don't remember, you can take 3 divided by 4 in your calculator, and that's going to be 75%. And my licorice, 1/4, is going to be 25%. So in this case, we had a very simple cross. So our takeaways here are we're going to use Punnett squares to help us determine probabilities. And we've got homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive here, and we get the same allele. So this one was a really easy. Over here, we had to kind of tabulate our genotypes and our phenotypes. And let's do one reminder before we walk away from this. So if I have 4 offspring, will they always have 3 pretzel arms and 2 licorice arms? What do you think? Am I guaranteed? Oops, I'm sorry, 3 and 1. Am I guaranteed that? Well, if you said no, you're correct. We don't know for sure that that's what we'll have. So I'm going to put a little X through there, because this is a probability. If I flip a coin, I have a 50-50 chance of getting heads or tails. But if I flip a coin 4 times in a row, that doesn't mean I'm going to have 2 heads and 2 tails. I might have 3 heads and 1 tail, or all 4 tails. So again, keep in mind when we do these are only probabilities. Probabilities. Let's put the only there. Okay, you get to do some of these at home for practice. So we'll see you back here. And now the next time we get together, we're going to talk about how do you cross 2 traits. Thanks for watching.